The back three was obviously a difficult decision for you, Dave, in and around, who to drop and then obviously the 6-2 bench split as well. Can you just talk about your thought process, what gets Tom Wright over the line ahead of Pataya and then Callaway on the bench?
Yeah, no, we thought about starting Cals. Obviously, we rate him highly, but the fact he's been away on injury, the fact we've got a 6-2 split, we think it's better managing his minutes off the bench. Between Tom and Geordie, both excellent players, and like I said, I think Tom's been in the best form in a Wallaby jersey, and maybe not as clinical last time out, but we're going to back him to do the job. He's a very good communicator. With Hodgie at the back, he gives us a big kicking game, which we reckon will be important this week.
Are you expecting a bomb barrage from the box, and have you sort of picked accordingly as well to that?
Yeah, we are, and we've put a lot of time into it because it wasn't good enough last time out. So we know the importance of that. They've got a good kicking game, and they'll back their D. We've got to make sure that we can win that air battle.
And just on that 6-2 split, how much did you consider perhaps bringing Foley or another playmaking option in as opposed to going with the 6-2?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great having Bernard in. Good man, a wealth of experience. Hasn't got a lot of footy under his belt in the last couple of months. Done a little bit of training, but so he's in reasonable nick, but not test match fit. And so we just want to get a good solid week into him. There's a hell of a lot of language and things to get his head around our structures. Because he's the key man around that, implementing the plan. So we felt it was unfair on him also to throw him in the mixer straight away. So he's had a really good week of training. He'll be better for it next week.
So just while on that transition, bringing Noah back into the setup, I think you said a couple of weeks ago you were looking at kind of his attack and how sort of deep he was. Just kind of wondering how he's sort of taken those adjustments and where you've seen that improvement come in.
Yeah, he's trained well. He was disappointed with the third test against England. He wasn't disastrous, but he certainly wasn't as good as he was test one. So, we said we've still got confidence in him. Obviously, with Quade now out of the picture, James got a crack last time, and so Noah's got an opportunity to try and cement that jersey.
I was just going to say, just on that bench as well, I mean, getting the likes of Scotty Sayer back and Dave Parecki, I guess, firstly, how good is it having that bit more experience in, and the sort of the reasoning behind Scotty Sayer over potentially like someone like an Angus Bell?
Yeah, Angus unavailable still. He's close. We think he'll be all right next week. So great to have Scotty back. And when you look at the bench, you got Scotty, Dave Parecki and Taniela. There's a fair few years and experience in amongst that group versus, last test out we had Pone on debut, we had Billy on debut and Matt with one test. So certainly a lot more experience and steel about the bench.
Dave, just as you mentioned Taniela, how would you assess his season to date? Obviously he came back after not playing much rugby before the internationals.
Yeah, look, we need more out of him. He's well aware of that. He was pretty disappointed with his effort in the second test, and look, we know he's a very good scrummager, but we expect him to dominate with and without the ball as well. He was disappointing in those areas, and so he, I guess the repercussions for that as he comes off the bench.
And clearly with the 6-2 split, it means one less back. But 14 tests before next year's World Cup, I think. Vunivalu is a guy that a lot of people were interested about, big name recruit, but he's only had 2 minutes of experience in the test cauldron. Have you got an idea about when you might look to use him? And I note that Marika took quite a while before he was introduced, but I think Sully spent a few more years playing rugby than Marika did when he was younger.
Yeah, we talk a lot about earning the right to play. It's a competitive position. We see the value, and that's the reason he's in the group. We're going to send him back to play a bit of club footy this weekend. And the plan is to get him up to a stage where we think he can dominate a starting jersey, and that could well be end of year tour.
Sorry, just on that just going back to that fullback position. I mean, you have another specialist fullback there in Jock Campbell. It's just that decision between Jock and Reece. What do you kind of have to see from Jock to essentially fight for him to find his way into this Wallabies setup?
Yeah, I think I mentioned last week, but Jock's been excellent, and having him in the group, he's really impressed all of us. He's a smart footy player, really good skill set, deceptively quick. So he's pushing hard. He's certainly in the discussions, and fair to say we've been really impressed with him.
And Dave, there was some interesting news breaking last night around one of your former men, Tara Kerbalu. Have you had any discussions, or has there been any discussions with him regards to a potential, either return to Super Rugby, or has there been any comms at all?
Tawada's making a big chunk of change over at La Rochelle, so that's where his future lies. But I had a conversation with him maybe 4, 5, 6 months ago, where he rung up just to say that if we got under any pressure, if there were injuries, and he said he's, obviously he's born in Australia, he's a former All Black, but the change of rules makes him eligible, and he's a hell of a player. So, we're at the moment we'll be loyal to the guys we got. It's probably our strongest position. To be fair, we've got 3 excellent nines here, and Ryan Lonergan in behind that. But as we've seen this year, things can change quickly. So, we'll certainly keep in contact with Tawada, and it's a hell of a resource in behind what we've already got.
Dave, he'd be currently ineligible though, right, under the Giddo law thing. So do you have, is part of that he'd have to come back and play for an Australian team to be eligible for you? Yeah,
that's right. So, but I guess all of that sort of stuff's doable. I haven't thought too hard about it. What I know is he's a great man, a hell of a player, and you got a guy who's a former All Black putting his hand up to play for the Wallabies. It's a good sign.
Sorry, just last one on that. Do you anticipate World Rugby would even countenance it though? Wasn't it sort of really intended to be for emerging nations rather than bloke swapping between All Blacks and Wallabies?
Yeah, that's the thing with unintended consequences. These guys, potentially former Wallabies who could play for Scotland type scenario. So, I'm sure that's open to debate, but once you open the floodgates, it's available for everyone, I'd say.
Dave, the Wallabies have always, in the last certainly block of time, matched up really well against the Springboks. I mean, I just wondered what you saw with their recent tests against the All Blacks, if there was anything new there, or they'll just, they tend to play the same kind of way. They just do it really well. Is there anything, I guess, like you're expecting different? No,
I think you've nailed it. They're got a massive pack of huge men. They're happy to play without the ball and back their defence. They've got some genuine gas out wide that can hurt you if you turn it over, and so you've got to be prepared to stay in the fight against them. We certainly know what's coming, but we're going to have to get in front of that. Bring a lot of physicality, and we're going to have to kick smart. They're happy to play without the ball and apply pressure through the defence. So, we need to kick smart to potentially get kicks where they're less organised and opportunities for us to play off that.
How big a role does Reece Hodge play in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, he was an important part of it last year. his ability to identify space and find grass in behind him with his booming boots. So a big part of the reason we picked him.
And you mentioned that physicality and needing to stay in the fight. Like, how important is the experience that you touched on coming off the bench, especially up front?
Yeah, we think it's going to be massive. I mean, you look at the front row they bring on; it's probably better than the front row they start. So, our guys coming off the bench got a massive job, but we've got genuine impact as well with people like Rob Leota and Pete Samu. Can make a real impact, and it'd be great to have Cals back in the mix.